Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. Hey, what's going on? Coach Luca back here with the Vigor Life Podcast. And if you're watching this video, you kind of see that I'm kind of outfitted like I'm going into a snowstorm. The reality is I'm just, this is like a dead time at the gym. I'm not turning on the heat. Like, honestly, I don't turn on the heat much. And when you're here for like a couple hours, you know what I'm saying? You got to stay warm. So that's why the outfit is there. I got that ready for war, camo hat outfit and stuff, but it's all good. I just came back from today's show was going to be about like a concept and just came back from the Warrior Convention last week, which was fantastic. Always get a ton out of it. Like a lot of aha moments, a lot of clarity, for the year forward, which is great. But there was a conversation. There's a conversation that's been going on for quite a while. And, when I say a conversation has been going on for quite a while, this is a very important point to make. Just because you hear something once doesn't mean you get it. It doesn't mean that you think about it all the time or it becomes your perspective, right? There's for instance, people ask hey, dude, you read a lot of similar books, and I'm like, yeah, because I really want to know that subject. Or sometimes I want to brainwash my brain to understanding those concepts and really kind of seeing through those eyes, right? So bringing it back to the point, the conversation that's been had for a long time is this conversation about, what is the number one asset? It's interesting because, so I wanted to kind of do a little test, and I sent 4 of my friends a text message, and I said, hey, what is the number one asset in your life, right? And I got all these different answers, right? Somebody said my real estate. Another guy was saying properties, like that resourcefulness and productivity and all these different things, right? Some people literally would wrote out money and money in stock and things like that. And it was crazy. None of those 4 responses ended up being what I thought they would be. And I would say that the perspective that I've gotten in the last I would say couple years that's very clear to me on a daily basis is that you are your number one asset, right? You are your number one asset. And, some people might go oh, yeah, that makes sense. But the reality is look at your daily life, right? And when we talk about you being your number one asset, it's not only, I think what pops to mind is you invest in yourself, right? Your knowledge, your education, mentoring, whatever it may be, right? The things that you read, the things that you listen to. But, it's also obviously, it's your health, right? Investing in yourself because, hey, if you feel great, if you look great, if you perform great, if you got energy, if you got capacity, you can perform 10 times better than if you're hurt, you're in pain, your mind is clouded, you're frustrated, you're depressed, you don't sleep well, your energy's low, all these different things, right? And so essentially the whole being number one asset is different areas of life, from relationships to your health, to finances, to education, investing in that asset in yourself. And then what's your number one investment? Well, it's obviously yourself, but also your business. Now, if you're, the Gene said, well, but what if you don't have a business? But it's man, you are your business. If you work for a company, that's your business. It's the business of you, right? No matter where you are, that's still your business. You investing in learning marketing or, training, being a better coach, or how to better communicate with people, that is going to help your business, aka you, inside of any company, organization, team, right? And if you've ever read the book Lynchpin by Seth Godin, which is a great book, that's kind of the mentality in this day's world. You got to be a linchpin. It doesn't matter if you work with or for someone. You can still be a linchpin and be your own business and grow and be really happy in that. But going back to the whole conversation of being the number one asset on a daily basis, right? that means it's kind of like the whole bank account, right? Or if you put money in a 401k, on a Roth IRA, or whatever it may be, like on a daily basis, you can make deposits into the number one asset, which is you, right? And we've obviously talked about habits so much. And I'm going to bring them up again, but on a daily basis, if you were like, hey, did I deposit into relationships? Did I deposit into my health? Did I deposit into my knowledge or the way I see things, my mindset? Did I deposit into my business? Because the craziness is that like, I get to hear people talking so much about putting, their investment or time somewhere else. Now I'm big on like giving and philanthropy, but what I'm talking about is this. If you put money into a mutual fund or if you put money into a 401k, right? What are you doing? Like you're essentially betting on a return like from somebody else's life or business. There's somebody else that's investing this in another business, hoping that business does well so that you get a return. But like you don't have control of what they do. You have zero control of what they do. Right? You can make an educated guess. You can make, you can do your due diligence and go like, okay, this sounds pretty good. I'm not saying you never ever do that in your life, but like the first thing that you should invest in, and I'd have you consider investing rather than telling you should, like consider this, right? Who do you have control over? You, your actions every single day. And like, I would, you want to bet on you, right? If you have control of your life, there's a lot of things you have control over. Wouldn't you bet on yourself every single day? And so just this whole concept, right? I just ordered this poster and it's like number one investment, black poster, big frame, just like at home. So when I walk into the office, I'm like, man, remember this, right? As I go through my rituals every day, go through my morning walk around the lake, listen to audio. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I just reflect, come back, journal, meditate, make my smoothie and my Vitamix, right? Do my 5 minutes of flow, my 5 minutes of mobility before I start the day and work. Like those are investments in me, right? In my mind, in my movement, so that like I don't get, all cranky and stuff because, hey, I didn't do mobility for 3-4 days. Guess what? Yesterday I tweaked my back a little bit. Bam, there we go, right? That whole number one investment. I didn't invest for 3-4 days when I was traveling, a lot of sitting, planes, didn't do what I needed to do, and there you go, right? But so think about that on a day. Like the reason why we're having these conversations is because if that becomes your perspective, right, then guess what? Like that becomes your focus, and whatever you focus on grows. And I was just in Santa Monica, and me, Jay Ferrugia, and Jay Jablonski were shooting a podcast for Jay. We were doing Jay's podcast, and one of the questions was, what do you do if like you're afraid of failure? Like what's the number one step you should take if you're afraid of failure? And my answer to it was, man, I mean, you got to change perspectives first, right? The thing is, if you believe that failure will ruin you, like that's your belief system, then essentially, like not a lot is going to help because you're going to constantly keep going back to that, right? But if you shift the perspective and go like, well, failure is actually a stepping stone to success. Because if you are afraid of failure, then you're never going to try. You're never going to go for it. And I would say that the antidote is action, right? Taking action despite of. But I bring that up because it's pretty much the same thing when it comes to like the number one asset. If that's your perspective, right? And on a daily basis, you remind yourself, whatever that is, you know what I mean? Like I constantly, like I said, read books that reaffirm this. I talk to people to reaffirm this. I'm in communities that bring this up. Like I said, we've had this conversation for a whole year inside of Warrior. And, I got the poster that's going to be in my office. So that's my perspective, because guess what? Then my focus is that, and then my foundation becomes that. And there's absolutely nothing in this world that will get you a better return on investment than that, right? I mean, we talk about right now where we're at. If you go to a bank and you put money in there, I think the savings, like you get 0.5% or percent savings on it. If a mutual fund gives you a return of, I don't know, like 8% a year, man, great, right? But it's like nothing is guaranteed. But if you put, like, if I could go back and see the amount of money I've invested in time and energy, right? Far from just money, but like into myself, my knowledge, my skill sets, my mindsets, the ROI is 1,000-fold, right? 100s-fold. And not just in, ROI, which is like return on investment financially, but like return on investment, like as far as how fulfilled you are, how meaningful it is to you, how much joy you get out of the things that you do. Those are, very, very important things. And, I'd say one thing, a lot of people say, hey, I'm searching for the meaning of life. And I really think that people are searching for like experiences in life. And guess what? Like investing in yourself as a number one asset, you get all of those different things back. So my question for you, from the standpoint of, if you are your number one asset, right? If after just this conversation, or that would have been your answer, period, let me ask you right now, what are you investing in yourself and depositing on a daily basis in those different areas of your life? So one would absolutely be health. And then we could break those things down. Obviously, maybe you need to do more mobility and movement because you're tight and wound up and you got nagging aches and pains. Like, are you creating a daily deposit in your life for that, right? Your health. Is it your being? So whether that's spirituality, that could be a lot of different things, like getting to connect to yourself. Like, are you meditating? Are you reading, whether it may be, like I said, spiritual works, or maybe it's things like stoicism. But, are you doing things to kind of like forge and find purpose? Are you investing in your relationships, friends, significant other, kids, right? Are you investing in yourself in business? And I'd break those things down, between skill sets, mindset, strategies for where you want to go. I don't know if whatever area you work in, today you could read a blog post, you could order a book, you could sign up for a course, you could go back and take, a physical course, or go to a seminar, or do a mentorship. Like, it's very simple to look at your day and go, am I investing in a number one asset, or am I investing in a lot of other people? And at the end of the day, right? Then, I do stuff for me, and that ends up being like maybe watching TV and eating food that's not going to get you to your goal. And I'm sure you've heard like the king eats first. But this conversation of the king eats first always tends to pertain to money, like the financial part of things, right? But I would say, like, when you say the king eats first, are you also taking care of that investment and everything else? Now, it's like I own a gym, so I'm in fitness. So this is such a huge, I would say, point of focus for me, is that your body is your vehicle, right? It's your vehicle to take you wherever you want to go. So if I ask you, hey, like, what are the things, in 5 years, close your eyes, imagine, or 3 or 2 or 1, I don't care, right? Like, we can change timelines, but say, close your eyes, imagine, like, who do you want to be? Like, where do you want to be? Like, where do you wake up? Where are you working? Who's around you? Where are you living? What, I don't know, what car do you have? Like, how do you look? How healthy are you? Like, all these different things. It's almost like directing and scripting your movie, right? You're writing out your movie. And the thing is, whatever you would write down, right? Your body, so the vehicle, your body and your mind are the things that are going to take you there. And then look at your day and you say, hey, based on this, am I investing in myself? Like, the king eats first. Every single day is like, is this going to be the path that takes me to that like, I would say, dream life or dream day or whatever it may be, right? And many a times the answer to that is like no. So you got to investigate, right? Because all the big things in your life happen with the small things that you do every day, right? The big, humongous, I would say, changes that happen in your life are all really constructs of the small things that you do day in and day out. So is the king or queen eating first, and not just in one area, but like in all different areas, constantly remembering that you're a number one asset. So, hey, I mean, like I said, I don't know what it takes for you to constantly remember that. For me, it's a big poster. black and white. Like I walk into my office at home, like right above, you can't miss it. It shoots out at me. And that's like the trigger, right? For me, that's the trigger in my environment that says, okay, go out the door, go for a walk. Go for a walk. Don't check your email. Don't check your phone. Don't freak out over all the different stuff. Invest in yourself first. Number one asset. Then get to the rest of the stuff, because then I feel fulfilled. And first of all, just to say this, I'm not doing this every day yet because it's a work in progress. Right? I don't do that 7 days a week. I'm not there yet. But I'm doing a lot more of it than I used to. And my life is a lot better. I'm a lot less stressed out. I get a lot more work done. So ask yourself, do you believe that you are the number one asset and that you and your business are the number one investment? And if that is the case, what are the things that you're going to implement in your day, the deposits that you're going to make in those different areas of life to show that, right? Because the reality is you could tell me that, but then you say, hey, show me that. All right. Coach Luca, Vigor Life Podcast. I'm out of here. Hey, tomorrow you better be depositing in yourself and remembering that you're number one asset. I'll see you in the next episode of the Vigor Life Podcast. Peace.